Hey,
And welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Syracusa, and Philip Syracusa. We are broadcasting live from the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. You'll have a few things in order to participate. Go over to the YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio, get into chat, subscribe if you haven't. You can go into all of the United Public Radio Facebook stations, Twitch, SoundCloud, and Podbean. You can also go to over to Joe Montalvo on Facebook as well. I can only respond to your comments on our YouTube channel on UFO Paranormal Radio. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we have two amazing guests. So let's welcome Ryan C. Jones and Dennis Escott to the show. Ryan is a paranormal investigator. He's also the host of Freakin' Awesome Show and began the Vibe Radio Network in 2016 with Holly Mullins. He has also started Commonwealth Researches of the Paranormal with Dennis. And also we have Mr. Dennis Escott. Dennis is a medium. He's a remote viewer with nearly 20 years as a paranormal investigator. Dennis is the caretaker for the cabin on 360, it's a very known location for being very haunted. Together, Ryan and Dennis hold numerous events and investigations there for fundraising causes. So, for more info, you can go to their Facebook page on Cabin 360 on Facebook. So let's welcome them both to the show.
Welcome.
Yay!
Good evening.
hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been like a year and a half. Good to see you guys, and you're still well. That's great. And
And can you hear us? You sound good? Everything's good?
I can hear you just fine.
Great.
so let's get into let's really get into this Cabin 360 because I know a lot of people are asking about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you got involved and took all that stuff. You're working with it and investigation. So whoever wants to start first.
Go ahead,
Well,
Ryan.
well, my dad owns the property. Well, my family actually owns the property, and my dad had told me the story, or his version of the story, of what happened in the brick rancher next door. How he was called to by some. My grandfather had sent some workers to gather some straw or bush hog behind the brick house, and they had found a refrigerator box. And when they opened the box up, they found the body of a little girl.
Oh,
And he told me how he was the only one at the office at the time, and they had called the office, and he had to go out and meet the cops, and he had to move her body from the box into the body bag, and how it affected him. So fast forward probably 5 or 6 years, and I was part of All Seeing Paranormal Society with Howie Odell, and I had told him, like, look, we have this house. Because I had done work there before. I had whenever like there'd be flooding in the basement, they'd send me out there to take the shop vac to the basement and suck up the water. And I knew the story about what happened, but I'd always like say hi to whoever was in the house just in case. I wasn't even into the paranormal at the time, but better be safe than sorry. I want to be haunting me because I was rude to him or whatever. So I told Howie, look, this house I've worked there before. Nothing's happened to me while I was in there, but at least maybe we can use the house as a practice grounds for our team. He was like, yeah, we'll check it out. So we went out there, and I had to leave early because I had a family commitment. But he led an investigation out there, and he messaged me, and it was supposed to be like an investigation from like 8 to midnight or something like that. I think they left around 9 o'clock or something, because he said people were scratched, and one of the investigators started crying. He just said it's just the whole mood of the house changed. So I I didn't get to go back in to the house for another year, and that's when I brought Dennis into the house, and we walked in the front door. And you remember what you said to me, Dennis?
I do. We were just 3 or 4 feet in the door. I stopped dead in my tracks. Uh, as a medium, I kind of sense energies. And the energy that I felt there was definitely not what I was accustomed to. I stopped dead in my tracks, didn't want to look around, and told Ryan point blank, there's something here that's not human and never has been. This place is effed up. And what, 20 minutes later, we're in the basement, just the two of us. The house is empty. And we heard a female scream that echoed through the house. I mean, it sounded like somebody was in the house. And this wasn't a scream of like joy and laughter. This was just straight up bloody murder. Like,
Yeah.
it was convincing enough.
And I'd never experienced anything like that on any of my investigations I'd been on. Like hearing it, I forgot EVPs from different locations and stuff, but I actually hear that with my own ears. It's kind of makes your blood run cold when you hear something like that.
That's crazy. I mean, just to hear it out. So you're saying that wasn't on a record? You actually heard it?
Yeah,
yes.
It was audible.
Wow. We both looked at each other like
it reverberated through the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was loud enough that the two of us went outside thinking maybe somebody was on the property. The closest neighbor to our east is a 1/10 of a mile down, and we didn't see anybody out in the yard there. There was nobody on our property. The closest house to our west is almost 1/4 of a mile. There was nobody around, but that scream reverberated through the house.
Is it possible that's the girl that was found?
That's my best guess. It was just a residual scream that, for whatever reason, chose that moment to replay itself. But it scared the hell out of both of us.
Wow.
So let me ask you both, up until today now, do you think she's still present?
Oh, I know she is.
Yeah, she is.
She is.
Yeah, I have an EVP. We had a group there. We were doing a fundraiser maybe 2 months ago. So I had a group of about 8 people with me in what was Melissa's bedroom. Melissa was the young 12-year-old girl that was murdered in there. And I'm holding my voice recorder, leaned against the window frame, and I said, Melissa, are you here with us, sweetheart? And there is a female voice that came back that sounds like she was standing right beside me, and plain as day says, I'm with you. Plain as day.
Okay. So, I mean, that's fascinating. So, Ryan, did we lose you?
No, I'm here. My
So, Ryan, you're actually at the cabin?
Yeah.
Yes, I am at the cabin.
Okay, so once we get a little bit more into the story, for the people actually watching this live, you're going to be able to take us around the cabin?
Yep.
Awesome. So my question is now, did you get any intelligent responses where she's telling you how she was murdered, why she's there, who she's with over there?
Yes, you know what? We have. We did a spirit box session in Melissa's room, and the name of the brother who killed Melissa was Randy, and Dennis asked if the name Randy is significant, and a female voice comes through and says he did it, clear as day.
Do you know why? Or
well, there's our thought, and then I've gotten a hold of a document that is his intake interview to the Department of Corrections. In that, he states that morning he woke up about 7 a.m., did a few lines of cocaine, and barged into her room, which a fight ensued. She yelled at him. There was some civilizations back and forth. Then he woke up a little while later on the floor with the handgun beside him, and she was on the floor across the room dead. I have a hard time accepting that because we're talking rural, like country. 1979, 17-year-old boy just wouldn't have easy access to cocaine. Plus, cocaine doesn't typically make you go into a blind rage, rape, and murder your half sibling.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
So I have a hard time believing that. But I do have EVPs where I've asked point blank, are you the dark energy that caused Randy to rape and murder his own sister? And the voice response I got back was very deep, very gruff. Yes.
It sounded like it was a combination of things too that made him do that. Maybe
Well,
being under the influence and what was going on there.
So is something else on that property, like something,
most
like
definitely.
demonic
Well,
or something unnatural?
I think there is something unnatural. I don't want to be, the little boy that cries demon, but there's something there that I'm not certain what to term it as. It does play with your psyche a lot. We've had several teams come out that, well, one, we had a team come from New Hampshire, 9.5 hour drive, and left after an hour and a half by themselves there. When I asked what went wrong that they left so early, I mean, they paid for the whole weekend, Friday night and Saturday night, and they left in an hour and a half. And he said, just for no apparent reason, my whole team was at each other's throats and ready to just beat each other up. And he said that pretty much the deciding factor is when my best friend of 20 plus years looked me straight in the eye and had a look in his face I'd never seen before and said, I don't know why, but I just want to smash your effing face in. He's like, it affected all of us. So Twisted Realm filmed their episode out there, the Twisted Paranormal Society, and their TV series, The Twisted Realm. Tana asked the question, why did you do this? Why did you cause this to happen? And that same deep, gruff voice responded with the violence. So there is something there that seems to play in the psyche and wants to cause violence. It thrives on that.
Yeah.
Well, then that's evil. It's you don't have to say demonic, but that's nothing good because we know about those cases. So that's something that when you said something, Dennis, you said it plays with your psyche and then it makes people want to fight each other. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
We know how that works.
Yeah, you guys dealt with it right in your own home.
We've dealt with it, and what they have caught in the teams is when that usually happens, there's a dark, dark shadow that appears if you keep taking pictures.
Yeah.
And then people get crazy upstairs. We all do.
And the nicest people. I mean, the nicest people.
And I always wonder, there's always that big question mark about shadow people because it just seems why they look like the outline of a shadow person in pictures when something bad happens. I'm not saying all the time, but it just seems to be one of the themes that we've noticed. And usually one person gets affected and then all of a sudden it's like a disease where other people on the team get affected. It's a snowball effect. And the only way we learn to break it is everybody out of the location immediately because otherwise there could be an act of violence.
Yeah.
So, and you said that when I asked you about this girl that died over there, you said that could be residual, the scream, but then you also said that you have intelligent responses, which means she's still there in the club. And that leads me to have a question of why hasn't she crossed over, or she cannot because she's being held back by something on that property?
We have asked, is there something keeping you here? Ryan and I have both asked the question, is there something keeping you here? Is there something keeping you from talking to us? And on numerous occasions, we've gotten an answer to the affirmative. So I think there is something keeping her there. I did a blensing. Blensing? That's a blensing and a blessing combined. It's a blensing.
Yeah, I agree.
Tongue-tied. But I did that on her bedroom and then salt sealed the door and the window and said, this is your room. This is your safe space. Nothing else is allowed in here. Does that mean that positively worked? No, but it was at least an effort to give her some peace.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, so what we're going to ask now, listening and watching the show, we're going to ask Ryan to take us around the cabin and
Okay.
explain to us what's going on and what happened where.
All
So,
right.
Ryan, as you're doing this, this is a fascinating show tonight,
Yes.
people. This is Cabin 360 that we're talking about. As you're doing this live, okay, if you feel or hear a whisper or anything, let us know.
All right, guys. This is the main room here at the cabin.
Ryan, just have to talk a little bit louder into the mic.
Sorry. Sorry. This is the main room here at the cabin. This is the fireplace over here. Can't believe there it is. All right. And
Yeah, if you could hold the camera just a little bit closer to you,
all right.
so we could hear your voice.
I walk over here.
So he's walking
I wish
over
I could
the
figure out how to
kitchen
turn the
area
camera
now.
around so they could not look at my face. So here's the kitchen I'm in right now. Julie can't see, but there's the refrigerator.
Touch on your avatar, Ryan, and see if it gives you an option for swapping the camera around.
No. Let's see, cam.
Ryan, if you could,
All right.
he's having a little.
Just
Ryan,
turn
if
the
you could
camera
turn
around.
the camera around so we
Like
see
this?
you,
There you go.
we see the picture,
Fine.
not you, and then you could put the camera next to your mouth when you're speaking for the audience.
All right.
Look at that.
I'm gonna. Here you go. Walking into the hallway here.
Oh, wow.
So you'll see a couple of doors that have the blue tape on them. Those
Yeah,
are
I don't like
private.
it.
Those are for our access and storage, things like that. So with the events that
Bathroom.
we do, we have 7 acres of woods as well. So we have trails throughout the woods, and we hang a lot of glow sticks. We have extra cups and toilet paper. So those are just storage closets. Now this back room that he's walking into now has no light,
There's no light here, so.
but there've been several teams that report seeing a shadow figure in there. There's a bathroom off of that back bedroom. Twisted during their episode when they filmed out here, they had a orb that you can see it form outside the window, comes through the window and shoots straight through the room. I'm not a huge believer in orbs. I think 99% of the time they're dust or some other crap floating in the air.
I'm sorry, just a little bit louder. Try if you can.
Is that better?
It's hard for us to hear you, but we can see it. That looks creepy.
Yeah, well, while he's doing the walkthrough, I'm trying to do the audio portion. I don't have an option to turn up my microphone.
This right here, this is a picture of Melissa. You guys can see that.
Wow.
Can you go a little bit closer to that picture? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, she was a 7th grade student, a quarter mile up the road at the elementary school. The elementary school still stands. We've met some of her classmates that were on the school grounds the Friday morning that she was found. And they've come out to the cabin, hung out with us on several occasions. And they've told us that they could see the police activity and the police tape and everything in her property while they were at school that day. This upstairs room that he's in now is the upstairs back room, and it doesn't have any ceiling lights either.
Luckily I have a light up here.
Yeah, there's a pole light.
Yeah.
But that gives you an idea. Now the mirror there in the corner, we've had
It's
some very
actually nice
strange
size.
knocking on it.
I do feel like a creepy, heavy feeling, but it is really pretty.
You notice that ever since he's been walking through the cabin, we can hardly hear them, but we can see the pictures.
Yes.
It's as if something just clouded over the
Yeah.
voices.
And that doesn't make sense because I'm in the same location I was earlier, and you could hear me just fine earlier. So that's just peculiar. But this room here, stand to the right and show him the bathroom, Ryan.
All right.
So where he's at right now is just walking into that room. But this doorway, we've had at least 3 different teams tell us that when they walk through that doorway into the room, they'll see a figure standing in this doorway, kind of leaned out, looking at them as they walk around the corner. But it's just a bathroom. There's nothing there. but they've seen a shadow figure on several occasions leaned around the corner of the doorway looking out at them. But this room here, our understanding in the mid to latter 80s, this room was utilized as a bordello. And in a strange twist, it was males brought in to satisfy and service the females. And Ryan captured probably one of the funniest EVPs I've ever heard. Out of nowhere, it's this female voice that just goes, "I'm naked." Okay. So just strange activity up there. Knock responses are very common. EVPs are quite frequent.
So a lot of adult-oriented EVPs have been caught up here.
Yes.
This is the champagne room of the cabin on 360.
Yeah. And we had a investigator came in by himself. I don't see a chair up there now, but he set his book bag in a chair over by the table where you're looking now. And as he's panning his camera around, out of nowhere, his book bag just got flipped off of the chair and landed 2 feet away from the chair. He's like, "There's no way it toppled over. I don't have that much in it. I've got like a flashlight and a couple of voice recorders in the bottom of the book bag. It wouldn't have toppled, but it came 2 feet off the chair and landed in the middle of the floor."
Definitely, it's big and creepy. It is nice, but I would love to go there.
I would love to go there too.
This is the loft area. This is where people sleep most, and they come out here to sleep where they sleep most of the time.
Or try to.
Yeah, well, that's the truth. Something happened to you right here, Dennis. You want to tell them that story?
So the doll that you're looking at there is Caitlin, and right about where she's at against the rail, I had a pillow in my sleeping bag. End of the night, after a long investigation doing a toy drive, I decided to just throw my sleeping bag down and go to sleep. So I had taken my weapon. I had my handgun on my hip, and I laid it up by my left shoulder. And off to what will be camera right, over in the corner there is a receptacle. I had my phone plugged in, and then downstairs was a speaker. So I had my handgun laying up there and my phone laying up there, and a speaker down in that bottom left corner. I can't sleep in the quiet. So when it went quiet, when the music stopped, I woke up. And as I'm kind of clearing the cobwebs and opening my eyes, standing at my feet was an old man with his arms crossed over his chest. And he was standing there just like this, just looking at my body.
Wow.
So he was solid enough. I was convinced enough that somebody had trespassed into the property that I reached for and drew my weapon. And he was gone in just an instant.
Wow.
Now, the old man that I described to Ryan, we had a young lady come out a couple of months later and tell us about a strange occurrence that she had out there. She had actually attempted to take her own life. And she had slit both of her wrists and sat in her office chair and just hung her arms over the arms of the office chair and let the blood run out. She said at some point she remembers standing over by the fireplace and looking at her chair with her body in it 5-6 feet away. And then an old man came up and stood beside her, and an old woman stood beside him. The descriptions match between the old man that she saw like 2.5 years before I saw mine. The descriptions matched. So who he is, I don't know, but I would put his dress from somewhere around the 1930s, 1940s. I have no justification for who he is and why he's there.
Fascinating. I mean, in essence, it's a nice looking place. Like it's really nice.
Yeah, it's
a nice
beautiful.
building.
And then you got the haunting that goes with it, and the unfortunate of that poor girl.
Yeah.
But as he's walking through there, you kind of get this eerie feeling, like something else is there with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had numerous teams that just while checking in, we'll hear people walking upstairs. Numerous occasions where they'll spot a shadow moving at the top of the loft. one of the funniest ones, I had a team come out, and it was husband and wife and 4 or 5 others with them. The wife was upstairs sleeping, and the husband was downstairs in the corner. He had set up his control center, and he's looking at video evidence and watching cameras and such. So he's got headphones on, listening to audio. He can't hear noises in the building, but she woke up about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and what woke her up was the sound of what she thought was him moving her suitcase, rolling it across the tile kitchen floor. So when she got up, she asked him, "What the hell were you moving our suitcases across the kitchen floor at 7 o'clock this morning?"
All right, just bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to get you guys in on the audio, but we kind of lost you.
Well, we didn't lose them, just it's the sound.
Yeah, something happened with the sound. So just give me 1 second, gentlemen.
Hey,
No
we host,
problem.
we host podcasts too. We know about audio issues.
Do that. What are you doing?
Test,
You had it.
test.
Hit that.
Yeah, I just want them to hear the feedback.
Better.
So there's the 30-second delay. Ryan, how do you feel right now?
I feel fine. I walked around the brick house when I got here. A little creeped out over there, but
What's it, 30
nothing
seconds?
terrible. I did a video, so maybe I got some voices on the video. I haven't listened to it yet or watched it yet, so we'll see what happens. But I feel good over here.
At the beginning of the show, we heard you guys really, really clear. I don't know. Now it's like it's very low.
But you're okay because on on actual YouTube Live, you're good.
Okay.
So for some reason, the connection between our end and your end, but that's fine.
I'll speak a little bit louder if
What
that
kind
helps
of
you.
equipment, like the EVPs, is that what you like for like the most validating equipment?
Well, I mean, as far as for me, I think the EVPs are good because there's some of them we capture are so clear. But I mean, like the evidence that Dennis was talking about earlier with that orb going through the window, it's hard to dispute that. Because you can see it with your own eyes. And but yeah, EVPs for me is probably the best stuff I've captured out here.
And I mean, as far as captures and equipment, I would have to go with EVP as my preferred route also. It's a lot easier to carry a pocket recorder with you than to carry a big camera rig at all times. I mean, we've physically seen, dozens of shadow figures and full-bodied apparitions, soldiers marching through, but the odds of capturing that are very slim unless you have a camera at all times and it ties up your hands so badly that you can't really use anything else. So, yeah, I mean, my preferred evidence is an EVP, especially a good, strong, intelligent one. When I ask Melissa, "Are you here with us, sweetheart?" and I get a strong female voice back that says, "I'm with you," that's hard to refute.
What do people experience when they go to this location without you like? I know you give them the background, but does anybody come up with something different in a sense like there's other people here on this property, other spirits?
The cloaked figures, Ryan.
Yeah, or the guy who saw the goat man up in the loft area that I was just in. The same group from New Hampshire. One guy was in the cabin, went upstairs. He said he saw a man that looked like a goat, half man, half goat.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a new one on us.
All right. So wait,
Goat man?
Dennis and Ryan.
Yes.
You just said something. So you're saying half goat, half man. Now, that also has been seen around, and we've seen that thing from pictures ourselves. When people are getting ready to argue and fight each other, and they're getting really mad for no reason, which leads me to believe, and also it raised a lot of curiosity of why there would this thing be, right?
Mhm.
And you know how we caught that half goat, half man? That picture we actually have years ago. Thank God we never seen it again, but it was after the black shadow appeared. So the black shadow would appear, and then all of a sudden, this thing that you're trying to make out what it is, and then all of a sudden, people are getting really agitated.
Mhm.
You know, so, and then it plays off of. So you know, going back to the murder of this young girl on this property, right? It's possible that the person who they say the brother killed her.
Mhm.
The brother was, you know, he's over influenced by forces of the unnatural, doing substance abuse, let's just say,
Yeah.
and you know, similar to Amityville, right?
Yeah.
And then goes into a rage and commits a murder.
The basement of the brick rancher is the epicenter of like what like the negative energy is downstairs in the basement. Um, and it was said that he spent a lot of time downstairs in the basement. Yeah, there is a figure right there.
Yeah.
So the story right there. I'll tell you a story about that figure. We were doing a Christmas event here at the cabin, and we had a father-daughter team come out to join us, and they had been on investigations before around here, and they'd actually come to the cabin before. So we didn't think anything of letting the girl, go into the brick house, and her father was with her too, and he was fine with it. So we were upstairs doing a spirit box session, and I'm like, all right, we'll see, everyone's up here. I'm gonna take the guys downstairs to the basement, and we're gonna do an EVP session while the girls were upstairs doing the spirit box. And the girl, I think she was like 17 maybe at the time.
Yeah.
She wanted to be with her father, so she came down with us, and we walked down the steps. It's Christmas time, you know, we're having a good time. It's an investigation, but not a super serious one, you know. So we're just talking, and as we're getting set up, I look and I see her standing in the middle of the basement, and her dad's talking to her, saying, "Hey, what's going on? What, you know, why aren't you talking to me?" And you can hear her whimpering and crying. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "It's looking at me. It's staring at me." So I walk over there. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "She won't move." I'm like, "Hey, are you okay?" She's like, "Don't you see it? It's staring at me. It's going to get me." So I finally get her to move upstairs and get her to move. I take her to the cabin, and I go find Dennis. And Dennis, you know, blesses her and convinces her to go down there and faces it. But I guess a couple weeks later, or about a week later, she sent him a picture of what she saw, and that was what Dennis was holding up to the camera. She saw that staring at her.
Wow.
And, yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's the drawing that she brought us and said this is what was on the back side of the steps in the basement, just staring at me.
That is one creepy. Can you hold that a little bit closer?
You should show him the flare picture next.
Oh, I will. So on this, I'm gonna reach up and zoom. There's, in particular, pay attention to like
Wow.
the tufts of hair on the side of the head, the big nose and big eyes. All right.
That's very similar to the picture that we have.
Actually, you know who
And I'm gonna send that.
Hey,
him the picture that we have.
Has Amy Allen ever been to this location?
Negative.
No.
So this young lady brought us that drawing, and about a month later, we had another team out, and one of the girls had the thermal attachment for the bottom of her phone, and captured this on the thermal image.
Crazy.
So when you look at them, they look a lot alike. So I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to be the little boy that cries demon, but I don't know if it's demonic. I don't know if it's an elemental. I don't know what category to put it in, but it's certainly not a human entity. But yeah, at this point, none of the quote unquote TV celebrities have been out. We did have Dave Spinks and Sean Alston come out. Sean Alston had a very rough night out there. Dave Spinks had a rough night there.
Yeah.
And Bill Hartley from Ghost of Shepherdstown has been there. He was actually there the night that this young lady saw that entity looking at her. When I went back over into the Brick Rancho to the basement, it was just Bill and I, and he was standing down there running Echo Vox. And he just turned and looked at me and he goes, "What have you put off here?" Probably everything. Why? And at that point, Echo Vox started going into a string of F Dennis, FUs, just one after another after another. And I looked at him and went, that's kind of common. And he goes, "No, that's not. I've been in some very dark places and I have never heard it spend 5 minutes straight cussing one person like that." But welcome to my world.
I am walking out because my phone's at 10%, so I'm gonna go get my car and put it on the charger. That's why I got dark. I'm still here, just walking out to the car.
All right. Well, we lost them.
Oh. Oh, shoot.
Are you guys still there? Oh, Ryan, I think we get the show.
I think we're taking over Horsefly Chronicles Radio.
Welcome to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Dennis Estlock and Ryan Jones.
Hey, we're the new hosts.
I do not know where
Enjoys the show.
Julia and Philip just disappeared all of a sudden.
The spirits of the cabin.
No doubt. So we're talking about the cabin on 360. It's in Mechanicsville, Virginia. It's just outside Richmond, Virginia. It sits on 7 acres of battlefield from the battles of Bethesda Church. Within about 1.5 miles of the cabin itself, I can account for 2,264 men that were killed, captured, wounded, or missing in action. So it's had its share of energy. Don't mind me, I'm trying to text Julia and see what's happening. But
I'm trying to get myself situated here in the car.
Yeah. So along with the battles of Bethesda Church, because they're in very close proximity, the battles for Totopotomoy Creek, Metadequin Creek, Hawes Shop, there's several battles right around us that play into the battles at Bethesda Church. Not only that, we sit 3 miles from Cold Harbor and 3.5 miles from Gaines Mill, which are both notorious battles from the Civil War. Hey, they're back.
Welcome back to the show, guys.
Yes.
All right, we're good again. We hear you.
That's all right. I just took off with a little history of the cabin and started.
Thank you. You know, you guys are such great hosts because you know when that stuff happens to keep talking.
Exactly.
Keep it alive.
Thank you. Thank you.
But this is fascinating. I mean, this place, you know, who wouldn't want to go there and investigate and see this place? First of all, like I said, the ambience, the look,
yes,
the haunting, and you know, my heart does go out to this young girl. And then I always question, you know, let me ask you guys something. As you know, investigators, and you know, you do shows for a long time, and Dennis, you're a remote viewer. Think about the question I'm about to ask you. Is it possible?
It's not my place to cross her over, Philip.
No, not that. Is it possible that she's still existing within her time on that property, and we're seeing it in our time?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. And here's one of my thoughts on it. They're not allowed to tell us what it's like on that side. I think they're bound by limitations of what they can't tell us.
Yeah.
You know, how many times have you asked during an investigation, which you guys have both investigated countless times, how many times did you ask what year it is? and gotten an actual response.
Exactly.
They
So
don't.
true.
If you ask,
Exactly.
can you tell if it's hot or cold there? You don't get a response. Um, I think there are boundaries of what they can and cannot tell us.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if she's in her time. I don't know if she has progressed with the years that have gone by. I mean, the murder was, 42 years ago, 42 years ago. I don't know what time slot she is in anymore. Is she aware of what's happened in that house from then till now? Um, those are things that the more I investigate, those are what I try to find out anyway. Because I want to know, as I've put it 1,000 times, when this meat suit dies, where do I go? What's it like for me on that side? So I try to put myself in the spirit shoes and I try to understand what it's like from their side.
We've had many of guests on, and we usually ask this question because sometimes the location, the building or home was taken down, but yet the haunting of the stairs that aren't there, the running up and down, still exist through the sounds that we hear when they're doing the investigations. And it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense if you look at like what was on the property. And what we come up to believe and think that it's possible. Again, we don't know everything, but maybe, just maybe, she's still in that frame of error.
Yeah.
And again, it's possible. Then we always ask the question, well, why wouldn't a young innocent girl cross over and go to the brighter side of things? The higher
I tell you,
vibration.
tell you what, I captured an EVP of Melissa, and she was singing in the EVP, and I played it for a friend of hers, and I'm like, does this sound like Melissa? And she was like, yeah, I'm 99.9% sure that was Melissa, and she was a part of the choir. So it's possible that she's still stuck in that time, and maybe she's practicing for the choir, practicing her singing, does not realize what's going on.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Along with that same line of thought, we do a lot of investigations at a park down here that's all battlefield called Pamplin Historical Park. And I ask the question out on the battlefield, gentlemen, do you know you're no longer soldiers? The war is over. And I've got a Class A EVP, sounds like one of my group, and there were only 3 people with me. But the voice says, are we dead? And it sounds like a young boy's voice. So I'm picturing at that, and I mean, that one kind of broke me, man. I started to weep. I'm not even going to lie, because I pictured this 18, 19-year-old kid that's been, on duty for 150, 160 years and doesn't even realize he's no longer living.
So
And
sad.
I wonder if Melissa is in that same boat. One of the theories in the field is a tragic instant death. The spirit is ripped from the body so fast they don't even realize they're dead. Is that young girl just reliving, like, Groundhog Day over and over and over every day?
And you hear about so many of those stories.
But he said she was practicing the violin.
No,
She was
choir,
singing. But then
singing.
again, we do have that intelligent response of her answering Dennis's question about the name Randy.
Yeah.
So whether I don't know, that might not have been her who said that, but that's the thing, we don't know. I mean, we could be like, well, this is how it is. We don't know how it is. Their rules, there aren't know if there are any rules over there. I don't know what's going on. I just know what we've captured. We just go by that.
That's true. It seems like there's a set of rules on the other side. When you ask about certain years and things, there's no answer to that. And I agree with you because we don't get those responses either. And it's always like, well, wait, you have limitations too?
Yeah,
Plus, she's been in this house with no one talking to her until we got there. So I mean, I don't know if she even knows how to what to think, or like now she has random people coming in and speaking with her and stuff, and I don't know what she thinks about it, or how she feels about us coming in there. So it's strange to deal with.
I mean, I did capture a yes response when I asked if she liked that we came in to talk to her.
That's true.
So, I think they do appreciate, or at least she does anyway. That was the response to that. If we take that assumption that it was Melissa that responded, I mean, it sounded like a young female's voice, but obviously I never met Melissa, so I don't know what her voice sounded like. But a young female responded yes when I asked, "Do you like it when we come visit you?" So I think they know we're there, and I think they understand that we're there to talk to them. And like Ryan said, she's been pretty much alone in that house for 40 plus years. And, what has she tried over all of that time to interact with people? How has she tried, and how have people reacted to it?
Plus, you still have to remember, we're dealing with a 12-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't grown up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like she's scared.
Exactly.
Sometimes she'll talk to us, sometimes she won't. Sometimes she may not like one of the people that come to their cabin or comes inside with us.
And not to mention just a 12-year-old girl. It's a 12-year-old girl from 1979 that was an entirely different time than we live in now.
And she's stuck right there in that time too.
And that's my assumption,
Yeah.
The world's changed around her, but has she seen the world change around her? Like you were saying, is she stuck in her time? I mean, if you come into her house, we're entering her domain, so she can see us or she can sense us. But as far as the outside world, what is she seeing?
Especially with children. Children are known to stay in their time, when they pass. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
I think so. So being a medium, I've interacted with numerous spirits. Can you connect to a loved one for me? This, that, and the other. Phil, I don't know if you remember me doing a remote view on the Horsefly house several years back before when it was just starting to be a location. But some of the spirits that I ran into there presented as a younger individual, not at their age of death, but younger. So I think they're able to portray themselves or present themselves at a time frame of their actual living time when they were happy. It doesn't always have to be their death state. I have interacted with them in their death state. I did not a remote, but a connection for a girl in Canada. She wanted to connect with her fiance who died in a house fire. So for him to get me to understand who I was connecting with, he presented to me initially in his death state. So I'm seeing this young man that is charred and still has smoke rolling off of his body. But once I understood exactly who I was talking to, then he presented to me as he was in life, not as he was at death. But he wanted to make sure he got that impression to me of who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what she's experiencing. I don't know what she sees. I don't know what she makes of this world around her. But I know one of my rules that I tell everybody that comes to an investigation there is you will respect her or I'll throw your happy ass off the property.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
Yeah, you have to respect those that have crossed over, just like the physical world, because you don't know, first of all, what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with, what the response is going to be, and there's no time on their side. So even in the case when you showed us that picture that looks pretty evil, and if it is something else on that property that can be malevolent, I tell people, watch your words, because they can come after you on their watch, not yours. That could be down the road, And I have seen that happen over and over again when you have to separate coincidence versus fact. So I believe respect the other side and try to get the most intelligent responses. But if you're feeling affected in any way, you may want to take a step back on what you're doing. I know, Dennis, one of the locations I met you at was the Haldeman Mansion. And then I felt like I was getting overtaken in that property, in the basement. And then the people upstairs in the attic, Dennis was helping at the time as well.
The attic got very hairy.
Something was
the
going on
officer
there.
that hung out with us. We had the neighbor that lived in front of the place called in a noise complaint. So we had the officer that showed up. I got him up into the attic, and I had the laser grid and smoke machine set up. And both of us watched what looked like a little 3-foot figure go across that full attic. That officer, I'll bet, made it downstairs in record time, because as soon as we saw it go across, he turned and looked at me and he goes, "What was that?" I don't know, but that was amazing. And he goes, "That was my cue to de-ask this building." Right away. It was priceless.
Wow.
But, yeah, Haldeman had some major issues. The kids that were upstairs provoking. And if you remember, in the attic, I had already sealed that one corner and told it could not come out of that corner. And they went over and they sat their chairs right at that perimeter, and they were just provoking it. And it's like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
One of the couples that we had a few years back that came out to the cabin, he was in the basement in the brick rancher, and he was being a little provoking. And he called me the next day and he says, "Hey, is it possible for something to have gone home with us?" Yeah, it's possible. Why? He's like, "Man, we made it about a mile away from there, and the stereo in the van hasn't worked in like a year, but it came on full volume playing like death metal, and we don't listen to that." Because I looked at my wife and she's already looking at me and she looks terrified, and I looked in the back seat and hit the brakes and hit the button to slide open the side door of the van. Said, "You've got to get out. You can't leave with us." Because the stereo shut off right then. He was like, "I moseyed on up the road, but I went out this morning and I kicked the snot out of the dash and I'm pounding on the radio and everything. I can't get it to come back on. You don't think something left with us, do you?" Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, we challenged it. Show me what you can do.
It's what you don't want to do. Show me. And that's the most silliest thing I see people, don't be afraid. You don't know who you're talking to. I really don't think they're afraid of you.
And I feel bad for all the little kids too. All these little kids that are doing the Ouija board.
If you go in unprotected and you don't know what you're doing, you're opening up a doorway to the unknown. Whether you believe or you don't believe, I've seen atheist people have horrific lives after provoking things they didn't believe in and see. I've seen it. I have seen this firsthand. So you have to be careful with your words, because that's intentional thoughts out in the atmosphere, and that's picking up all the vibrations of you, and it can torment you. But this Cabin 360 is definitely, it's definitely fascinating. It's interesting.
I do want to get to one thing. I know you guys do a lot of charities.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Which is amazing. So we want to thank you for that. So tell us about what do you guys have coming up next?
Well, we are going to be a part of the world's largest ghost hunt on September 25th. That's going to be a lot of fun. If you're in the area, come join us. Like $20 a ticket to join us at the cabin, and all 3 locations will be open for investigations.
And after that, towards October, towards Halloween, our team, which is Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal, is going to be lending a hand in running 2 nights investigations, just short investigations at Pamplin Historical Park, helping them fundraise. They do their like haunted tales and whatnot, and they'll do a walk through the park. And then after that, we're going to take the guests that buy the tickets and take them into 3 different areas and investigate the park with them. So, it's another way that we can give back to the community. We give our time and help them raise funds.
Well, we want to thank you guys for that. That's really nice.
Did you ever think about writing a book about this location?
I was going to say that. Yes.
Ryan can do that.
I've thought about it. But hopefully the story is not over yet. So,
Yeah.
This is a semicolon moment in the life of the Cabin on 360. This story is not done.
Yeah.
There's way too much there. It has been mentioned in several books. Vanessa Hogel mentioned it in hers. Vanessa had a very rough time there.
Yeah.
They were not nice to her in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are several books about or several videos out, that teams have captured evidence. And I'm sure, Sean Austin was putting his adventures at the cabin in his newest book. Dave Spinks, I believe, has a book in the works that his adventures there, getting punched in the gut will be mentioned. So
And they're coming back too, right?
There. Oh, they're coming back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
guys down here.
I mean, as Dave put it, it's in his top 5 locations that he's ever been, and he's got hundreds of locations.
Wow.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of things about Cabin 360.
Yeah.
Like it's
Which
really
wasn't so far.
Yeah,
For us, it's far.
It's really not that long. We got a lot of feedback.
It's like 4, maybe 5 hours. Come on down.
Yeah. Oh, we lost Ryan. All right.
But,
well, we're definitely coming towards the end of the show.
Yeah, Ryan, did we lose you?
I think so.
Hey, Ryan. He's gone. Ladies and gentlemen,
I hope that he's okay, that he didn't get taken away into the cabin and we're never going to see him again.
Stop that. We want to thank you guys for coming on, and especially Ryan. When he can hear this. Thank you for going to the cabin and showing us the cabin. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on. And
yeah, so where can people find you and all that good stuff?
There he is.
There you are.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was hoping we weren't seeing like a Blair Witch Project happen right in front of our very eyes, where you disappear, then Dennis has to go find you, and then Dennis disappears, and then we fly out there, and then no one finds us but the lost cameras.
Yeah.
No, that'd be really cool, but no, that's not quite as exciting.
I just called local sheriff department and go, he vanished. Go see if you can find his bones somewhere. So, yeah, we're fairly easy to find. Facebook, just look up Dennis Estlock. Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal. We've got numerous locations coming up. We just agreed to take on another location that's a historic property here in city of Richmond, Virginia, that they're trying to revive it. It's the original pump house for the water system for the city of Richmond. It was built 1823, 1817, something like that. Very old buildings. So they asked us to team up with them and host some investigations out there and do some fundraising so they can help revitalize the building. We're also in talks with the United States oldest full-time active Masonic lodge. We're going to team up with them and do some investigations and fundraising for them so they can help revitalize their building. So we've got Pamplin Park coming up as well. Obviously, the Cabin on 360, we're always coming up with a reason to benefit somebody.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, you have your own radio show.
Yes.
You could just mention that really quick.
Yep, it's called The Freaking Awesome Show. It's on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. I host it with my girlfriend, Angie Parker. We're on the Vibe Radio Network on Blog Talk Radio. So, come check us out. And again, Ryan C. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's Ryan C. Jones. And The Freaking Awesome Show on Facebook as well. And, of course, the Cabin on 360.
And if people want to come visit the cabin, who do they get in touch with?
Either one of us.
Yes, message Cabin on Facebook, and one of us will get to you as soon as we see the message.
Jump on the Facebook page.
Thank you again, Ryan, for taking us on a little tour of the cabin.
No problem. Next time I'll go to the brick house. It's not 100 degrees.
We appreciate that. That was really interesting going through that cabin. I felt like I was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, again, thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to round up the show with.
And yes, we want to have a special thank you to Carnation for sponsoring the show. We love them. Thank you so much. Join us next Monday night on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans.
And stay tuned for the Angel Rock.
Yes.
Coming
love
up
her.
next. Everyone, thank you so much. Thank our guests.
Thank
Great
you.
guests. Very intelligent. They know they've been
They know their
around, and
stuff.
I've met them personally years ago.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we'll meet them again.
Yeah. Hopefully, I get to meet you.
You get to meet them. And everyone, have a safe night, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks,
good one.
guys.